fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
As always, the Ramble is sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. If you're a growing business and you want support to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. Thank you for joining the team for their continued support for the Ramble. And today's Ramble is also sponsored by V&B Auto Centres at Handsworth. They're still offering that fantastic deal of 50% off your next MOT when you let them know you're a Rambler. Thank you again to Aaron and the team for their support also. What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I'm, of course, Jimmy, and I think that I haven't advertised this properly. So there's not going to be many. Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, nobody knows we're here. So there you go. Let's publish that and make sure people can see it. That's why nobody's in the building as of yet, or not many people are. Thank you to everybody for joining us. This is hot off the presser. A really interesting press conference from Chris Wilder, who tried to catch us out with going today rather than tomorrow. I had it all planned in for tomorrow. It's usually a Friday press conference leading into the Saturday. So I wrongly assumed it was going to be a Thursday press conference leading into the Friday, because we're already due to go today at 12 o'clock. We're going to be talking about this, preparing for the worst. If we end up being a championship side next season, this is what we're going to be talking about. And this will be worst case scenario. So this is a case of if we're in the championship with little to no brass. So thank you to everybody for joining us. It's my fault that I've not advertised it properly. It was unlisted, which means it's hidden from public view. And now it's a public thing. So it may take a little bit of time for people to gather us, but you can watch us at any time. Get your comments in if you have seen the presser. If not, I'm going to talk to you all about it now in terms of what Chris Wilder talked about during his press conference this morning ahead of the Cardiff game. So interesting as ever. There is never can everybody remember? And this sounds bad actually, but can anybody remember Slav's press conferences? And this is nothing against Slav as a person, but it's night and day from what Chrissy Wilder gives you in a press conference. I actually stopped watching the press conferences when Slav was the manager because it didn't engage me at all. Chris Wilder, yes, they get a little bit sort of, he gets asked the same questions a lot of the time, so the rhetoric doesn't change too much. But obviously there's loads of different bits to talk about this time because there's the Plymouth debate and where we are in terms of our form and stuff, but he never fails to sort of keep your attention and hold your focus. So Andy Giddins from Radio Sheffield starts us off the Plymouth aftermath. Can you talk to us about what's happened and whether, you know, you're expecting the FA to be in touch and things of that nature? He said the FA have asked us for our observations on what happened after the Plymouth game. I can basically tell you pretty much straight off, Andy, what happened. I went on the pitch at the end of the game. I gathered the players around. It wasn't a Phil Brown moment like everybody's. I haven't heard anybody mention that, but he's obviously heard it in different parts. And it being a Phil Brown moment, if everybody remembers Phil Brown like embarrassing his players by sitting him down and doing a halftime team talk on the pitch. He says it was a calm chat with the players. They have to own it. They have to accept it. Not blame anyone or anything about it. There's no excuses. We're an honest bunch. We're an honest club. That's how we are. We have to accept the criticism. Now we have to go and acknowledge now you need to go and acknowledge the 3,000 fans who've come down and supported you at Plymouth, made the long trip there, and we've underperformed like they did at Oxford as well. Go and clap those fans. We need a big week. That's what he was saying on the pitch to them. We need a big week now, starting with Monday, leading into this coming Friday. The season's not done. We've given up an advantage. That's all we've done. We need to be positive. As we're walking off the pitch, there's verbals with the opposition players. There's 70 people trying to squeeze into a small tunnel at the same time at the end of the game. He's saying, and there's always, when there's verbals going off, there's always going to be a little bit of, you know, not argy-bargy, but he said basically we're going back and forth with them. We've responded to the FA. There's no issues with Plymouth at all. It was a great result to them. I spoke to the manager after the game. I then went and spoke to the referee and his assessor. No issues. No issues. What about the criticism and negative criticism of the current form and the team and allegations? Good question from Gids, to be fair, and he goes on to an even better one in a minute. But and about the club being negative and complacent. There's been no negativity in our approach, says Wilder. 70% possession, but we've not been good enough with the ball. So it shows that we are having control in the middle of the park, but we haven't been good enough when we've had that control. No, the approach hasn't changed at all. Why would it? When we performed so well at Coventry, why would I change that? It wouldn't make any sense. We've just conceded poor goals defensively. Between boxers, we've had control of the ball. We've not created enough or been clinical enough. 2 set plays conceded, 1 long throw and 1 counter attack. Not done enough. It's about both. Football's about both boxes. The opposition conversion rate has gone up, and that's because we've defended poorly. Just going to leave that there. We've not had enough focus defensively. Just leave that there. I've never, as a manager, never ever said sit back on 1-0. It's not been good enough. We've had chances to do it. We need to create more chances with the talent that we've got. We need to accept the criticism that's coming our way. We can't lose to the bottom of the league in the form table. We can't lose to the bottom of the league in the table. People will now think we're done. We need to adjust that way of thinking. Work hard this week and put a better performance in. Love it. Love it. It's true. It's very aware of how the fan base feel, which he always has been, to be honest. Interesting. Kids, the man says, 2-part question. There's been questions over Jack Robinson's performances and Vinny Souza's match fitness. Both really, really pertinent questions that the fan base wants to hear about. He started off answering the Vinny bit first. Vinny should be able to do around 70 minutes, and that's what he got against Plymouth. How else do we get him match fit without... So basically what he's saying is he's not been match fit. He didn't say that in so many words, but he intimated that how else do you get him match fit other than chucking him on for minutes during the match? So he's getting up to speed rather than being up to speed. He's a huge player for us, and he needs minutes. He wasn't at his best against Plymouth, but none of the players were. We're better than that, than what we showed. I've spoken to Jack. He's been disappointed in his performances recently, as have we been. And I'm thinking positively there. I'm thinking there might be a little bit of acknowledgement from the man that we need the acknowledgement from. Chris Wilder is the one that we can all see it. We've all spoken about it. I've been banging the drum for a long time, but a lot of the fan base now are saying change, change, change. There's only one man that can change it, essentially. It comes down to him. And if he's starting to see it, hopefully, then there might be a change. And it sounds awful to say out loud, but I genuinely feel that the fine margins in these games can be dictated by something as minimal as a Jack Robinson mistake. We've seen it. We've seen it. Rob Holding, I believe, wouldn't have made the same errors. We're not going to know that until we see Rob Holding in the lineup, are we? So he's disappointed, as are we. We all need to do better collectively. He has to lead from the front. He's been outstanding so far this season. I don't agree. I don't agree, but there's an element of he either believes that or he wants to project some positivity back into Robinson. Are 1 or 2 games, does that warrant him coming out of the team? That's up to me. But in pressure games, you want your leaders like Jack Robinson. See, that sort of weed on my chips a little bit, burst my balloon. Hopefully, he can continue for us like he has done all season. So, straight away, get it in the comments whether you think he's going to drop him or not, because he sort of flirted with both options there. He's never going to reveal the team, but knowing him as we do, I think it's a possibility he changes it now, because he's had to overtly acknowledge it, thanks to the great question from Gids. But he said to me that he's going to keep faith with his captain. Gids also said, yeah, there also is the risk of making too many changes at a time like this, isn't there? And he says, confidence is a massive thing. Pressure is a privilege. It's an excuse if players say that the pressure's getting to them. Not that our players are saying that. Any team can score a goal in any action. I remember when we played Liverpool last year, we were poor. We went 1-0 down, but we scored with one action in the game. I'm not going to take a wrecking ball to it. There might be some tactical tweaks, a couple of selection changes, but we've got over 2 points per game with this current squad. Expectation levels are through the roof. To be honest, this is a transitional season, or it was seen as a transitional season at the beginning. There'll have been a single-digit percentage of fans that had us in this position at the beginning of the season. That's no excuse. We've had a really bad week. We need to get the energy, the belief, and show some resilience. The energy and belief back. We need to show resilience and personality in our performance. I don't know what the atmosphere will be like on Friday, but we need to do what we can to impact that in a positive way. Gids then asked about the availability of Rob Holding and Kiefer Moore. He says it's been a difficult one for Rob because when he came in, we were winning games. He's knocking on the door. We're not winning games now, though, are we? And this is me talking, not Wilder. We're not winning games now. So if that was the reasoning, and I understand it, and it's fair, to be honest. If we are winning games, there's no need to make any major changes, even though a lot of us think that Holding is a better player than Robinson. We've said it before. I think I said it before the Oxford game. You need to keep that same team. Almost every team I'd picked in Born to be Wilder prior to that had Holding coming in for Robinson. But after the brilliant Coventry performance, even I conceded and said, stick with the same 11. He did, and we were poor. And then after the fact, everybody's saying, you should have changed it. You should have changed it. No, he shouldn't. How was he to know that team wasn't going to produce the same performance against Coventry? But he said, now, when we were winning games, it was difficult for Rob coming in because I can't change a winning side. There's also the possibility that I'd have put Holding in and we don't win the game. And then it's, why are you changing it? Why are you putting him in? He shouldn't have come in. I'm not sure about that point, to be fair. But yeah, so he's got some decisions to make, he said. In terms of Kiefer Moore, he's coming back from a hernia injury. He's also knocking on the door. But I also have to say, the subs contribution has also not been up to scratch. Do I leave Tyrese Campbell out, who a week ago we were talking about how good him and Rhian Brewster are together at the top of the pitch? I've got loads of difficult decisions to make. On Cardiff then, he says, this isn't being disrespectful to Cardiff. We have got a game plan on them. We've got strength. We know their strengths and weaknesses, but 70 to 80% of the focus is going into our players at the moment. At our best, we will win this game. We've done it all season. We need to do it again. Our fight needs to be bigger than their fight. I think this was when Danny Hall came in. He says, you look at what's happened at Augusta this week with Rory McIlroy. He'd won it. He'd lost it. It's a roller coaster, isn't it? Is that a fair reflection on what can happen in sport? And Wilder says, yeah, he'd won it, he'd lost it, won it, lost it, won it, lost it, and eventually won it. No one expected that. It's up to us now to change our fortunes. We've not been good enough, and we need to be better now. We need to be good enough now. We'll reflect at the end of the season, and this might be the week that we look back and say, this is the week that killed us, that hurt us. We can win 4 games. I know we can, but the first one is arresting the slide and winning this next game. Danny says, you alluded to some rising expectations. How do you handle that with the players, and how do you motivate them? He says that's the way it is. If they want to be big players, they need to deal with it and get back on track. It's a work ethic thing. They have to work hard and focus more. Players need to lean on their ability. Some might not come through this period. We've got young boys in the squad playing at the top end of the Championship. He mentioned Siddy Peck, first season top end. Femi Sariki. He talks about Harrison Burrows. He talks about Michael Cooper. He failed to mention Tom Cannon, which is also somebody that is worth a mention in that conversation if we're mentioning Cooper. Older players need to be better as well and help lead. It's not an attitude or a commitment problem, because I can tell you now they won't be playing for Sheffield United. They won't be pulling on the red and white shirt. They wouldn't even be at the club. If I didn't think they were ready, then and showing the right attitude, they wouldn't be involved. They're not robots. I'm not a robot. I've got flaws. They've got flaws. But I'm surrounded by positivity and loyalty. We're not turning it in after a bad week. I had a manager recently say about a local derby game, may the best team win. That's just not me. I can't manage like that. Danny then said, in terms of, does that affect your team selection then? In terms of players that have been there and done it versus the inexperienced players, does that sort of lean towards more experienced heads? It was sort of intimating, I think. And Chris said, yeah, but to be fair, we're trying to develop players too. We want experience. But there's no, when we signed some of these younger players, there was no guarantee of pushing for Premier League football. It was a transitional season, or seemed to be that way. So when Harrison Burrows comes in, Michael Cooper comes in, it's not on the promise that we will be top end of the league. It's we're going to do as well as we can in a transitional season. They're here now, and they have to cope with it. We also want them to know what it's like to play in these games and build that experience. And some might not come through it, but we've got over 2 points per game. The team needs to come through it, and I believe they all will. Interesting. Who picks him up? A question that we asked on, was it 90 after 90? It might have been 3 Mardy Blades. A question I've been asking, though, is that Chris has looked down recently, and who picks him up? Who motivates the motivator? And I don't know whether Danny's caught a ramble or he's independently thought of this as well, which it's still, either way, it's a pertinent question to ask him, and I thank Danny for asking it. He says, who picks you up? Who motivates the motivator? And he says, I've got fabulous, don't worry about me, I'm okay. I've got fabulous people around me. Jamie Hoyland said to me just the other day, it could be worse, you could be Don Givens. I'm okay. I've been through this stretch, these stretches before. The highs massively outweigh the lows at this football club. This season alone, we've done the Sheffield double. We've won so many games, over 2 points per game. I mean, come on, look at how we've done. I'm not smashing the players, but they have to also know the truth in terms of the performances haven't been good enough. It hurts, but we'll keep fighting and keep swinging. Shieldsy says, then comes in and says, this is sport, isn't it? James Shields doesn't necessarily ask questions. He sort of gives wilder statements to then sort of bounce off. So he says, yes, it's disappointing, but this is sport, isn't it? And Wilder says, if it was easy, if sport was that easy, everyone would do it and everyone would win. These are challenges to everyone. Challenges to the manager, challenges to the owners, challenges to players and supporters. Then it'll get turned on the manager, the skipper, the players. I didn't like that bit in terms of like, as if we're scapegoating Jack Robinson a little bit. That's how I interpreted it. Whether that might have just been my interpretation, to be fair. He says it's part and parcel, but I have to say it does stir you a bit. I'm more focused and determined than I've ever been as a manager in my career. I want to chase that winning feeling, and I want the club to chase it as well. There's not going to be any laughing or singing on the coach at the moment. They need to feel it, but that can't last long term. Otherwise, it starts to set in and become part of the culture. Shieldsy then says it all gets magnified, doesn't it, at this stage of the season, more so than any else. But who's to say that Leeds or Burnley won't have a wobble? And he said 3 or 4 games ago, Leeds will have had these similar chats when they looked like they were falling away and they'd blown it. And look at them now. So they will have had these conversations. Burnley might still have these conversations to come. We've not been good enough, but I'm not a complacent manager, and I never have been. We have an obligation and a duty to go and win games. Our season might end before that. But if it does, then we need to go again. The first focus is on Friday and getting maximum points against Cardiff. The team is capable of winning 4 on the spin, isn't it? Says Shieldsy. He says, we have to play with personality and with emotion. We have to fight, but you can't have it both ways. If they're an emotional team, which I want them to be, they can't always be ice cold in these situations. You have to find a balance. We need to be better than we have been. Defensively, we've not been good enough. Tick. We went to the end in all 3 games. We've not been good enough in both boxes. We've got a strong history over the Easter period. That needs to happen again. 1 loss hurts. 2 losses really hurts. 3 losses gets to a point where you say, come on now. And Shieldsy then talked about, I know you mentioned going out for a beer with players, and it's not a time to be going out for a Chinese and having a laugh with them. But I've been in situations with you where you've said that's probably what some players need at certain times. But you know what to get out of these players and how to get the best out of them, don't you? And he says, we've done our due diligence. We've got the detail on all the goals, and that is key. We've not been under the cost during games. We've controlled games. We've just made really poor decisions. We've been let down by set plays. The impact of subs hasn't been great. We've not been good enough at the top of the pitch. I'm not saying to Gus Amer, turn around and pass to the keeper. And it wasn't singling out Gus there, but it was just using that as an example. We've not sat back once. I disagree with that personally. In the final action and big moments, we need to be better. When 1-0 up, we need to go 2-0, then 3-0 and put it to bed. We haven't found those moments, but I can pinpoint it. And that's the positives, that we can pinpoint it and we've broken it down. They understand it. We have to score against Oxford. We have to score against Millwall, and we haven't done it. I disagree with what Wilder said here in terms of we've not sat back once. I think we do sit back on Leeds, and it does, and I don't believe that he says it. And we've talked about this very briefly when we've been doing sort of breakdowns of the game, and I've been talking to the 3 Mardy Blades. I don't think it's an instruction from the manager. I think it's a confidence issue in the players, which is more of a concern, really. So Wilder has to get them confident in terms of playing the game that they can, because we have got the talent on the pitch to be able to go out and dominate most teams in this league in terms of not just possession stats, but be better than those teams. Our squad is certainly a top 3 squad, but the confidence is huge. And I think that's what the problem has been, that the players have lost a little bit of confidence, and Wilder needs to pull that out of them and sort of turn that around. We can play our part in that as well, by the way, at Bramall Lane on Friday night. And then the last point that Shieldsy raised was Liam Cameron, the boxer, is probably a good example of, at one point, he won't mind me saying, apparently he looked washed up and looked like he was done, and then he's come roaring back in his career. And Wilder says, yeah, he's been brilliant. We wish him all the best in his fight, this weekend. I think we all agree that he got robbed in the first one. And the narrative will be similar to us. Everything's rubbish. You've thrown it away. There's no future. Sheffield United are going to get beat in the playoffs, and we've got to deal with that. But deal with Friday first. It's not all sunshine and roses, but a comeback is on the agenda. Oh, and that's where the presser finished. So another, as expected, really strong press conference from Chris Wilder. Thank you to everybody that's managed to make their way here after I didn't advertise it, or I didn't publish it on YouTube. I appreciate everyone coming over. Nearly 500 people here. So let's talk about what you guys are saying in the comments. RJH starts us off by saying, morning, Jimmy. Hope we win this Friday. Can't contend with another defeat. Absolutely right, pal. Dave the knows. He really knows. So much I read between the lines in that. Wow. Just have to get behind them on Friday. I know, mate. I've seen your message. And I agree, to be honest. I think that's probably right, especially knowing what we know. Ricky says, so I was mixed during the presser. I know he's going to continue picking Robbo and won't change the shape. I didn't like how he mentioned we had 70% possession numerous times. But on the other hand, he looks up for it, and he knows we need a big performance. I fully expect us to be relentless and get our biggest result of the season. Who the players are up for it. Not on YouTube, pal. Thank you, Si. Hopefully I've sorted it, mate. Morning, Jimmy and all Ramblers. Alarm set to be up for what should be an interesting presser. Up all the Rambles. Hit the like button, please. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Chris says, morning, Jim lad. Very unpredictable with the Blades lately. Do everything opposite to what I say. So it's going to be a Cardiff win. Nice, mate. Nice. Up the Ramble, up the Blades. Up behind the Ramble, Blades Ramble. Nice one, mate. Thank you. Wilder says, Wilder's number one hater says, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Just say what you think, Wilder's number one hater. Scott says, why won't he drop Robbo? Everyone can see he's dropped in performance. It's unreal. We don't know if he's going to or he's not going to do it, Scott, to be fair. He may do. I just thought he was leaning more towards sticking with the skipper and hopefully he can lead us like he has done this season. Oh, that could be the thing that defines. It's a very fine line. I don't mean to scapegoat anybody, but I think he's such a clear weak link. I can't shake it. Tom says, morning, Jim Pal. Not had a chance to catch Wilder this morning as I was in a call. How dare they schedule it to interfere with the Messiah? Big reaction needed on Friday. Let's hope it's a good Friday. Let's hope so, pal. DT says Blades win. Leeds lose, Burnley draw. My prediction. I'm not sure. Don't be surprised if Leeds lose the next two. It's not over yet. Trust me, says Marching On Together LUFC. Ian says, morning, Jimmy. Wilder playing havoc with my work day. I could be wrong, but I think he might drop Robbo. It was a lot less bullish in defending him this morning. Fully expecting a bigger effort on Friday, whoever he picks. Like and subscribe, please. Thank you, mate. Ray says, hopefully we can have a change of fortune. And we put in a performance we know we can produce. And you never know, Burnley might slip up. So get behind the lads, everybody. Come on, you Blades. Up the Blades, up all the Rambles, like and subscribe. Blazeman from the Lane says, as a fan base, I genuinely think we need to double down and get behind the side on Friday night, singing our hearts out. If we turn up somber, bringing the last 3 games hurt, we will destroy ourselves. Has Vinny recovered for this game? It wasn't directly asked, but I assume as much. And that's purely an assumption. Pixie says, holding in, Robbo out, get Gilly in for Sariki. Bring him on with 20 minutes to go. Job done. That's what I'd be doing. Pixie. Alex says, Leeds fan still hoping the Blades come up with us. Wilder just needs to calm your boys and himself down. Pixie says, smash the like button, ladies and gents. Thank you. Yeah, that really helps at the moment. The algorithm is all over the place. It does help when I publish the video and let people know where we are. Just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, liking and subscribing really helps us at the moment. More than it ever has, to be honest, on in terms of YouTube. Hi, Jimmy. 3 points tomorrow and hope Wilder and the players behave themselves with all the fines. I know, mate. I know. We are going to be talking record, certainly volume of fines, but maybe even cost of fines at this stage because of how the players have lost the discipline in a lot of aspects. Pete says the next 4 to 7 games will define Wilder's United career, and please drop Robinson and don't play Cannon. Maybe next season where there's more time for them to gel. Possibly. Blade Warney says, I've spoken to Jack. He's been consistently our worst centre. He's been consistently our worst centre-back, so I've decided to keep Rob Holding with 100 appearances for Arsenal on the bench and keep Holding on the bench. He didn't say that. Luke says, just drop him and save your job. Could that be the most simplistic yet pertinent point? Because we don't know what the situation is, do we? I think that's a screaming comment. That's very, very loud. He can't drop him after saying those things, says Luke. I think he can. I think he's shown that he's ruthless before. There's just certain players that I think he holds sentiment with. He brought Brewster out of the team who he'd heavily backed and brought Callum Ware back in. It's very difficult to drop your captain. But for me, he's not captain material. He hasn't carried himself like a captain. Wilder loves the mind game, says Simon. He won't drop Robinson because the manager is a dinosaur, says Wilder's number one hater. Absolute blaspheme, to be honest. Jack says, but how is he a leader? We managed absolutely fine before Boxing Day without him. Plenty of the other lads capable of being captain. Even think Peck has the quality in him. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Jack Robinson's a leader. I don't think he is. I think he's an experienced player. And that's it. That doesn't make you a leader. And I don't see him in and around the training ground. I hear bits that I don't like, but I don't. Wilder is in the best position to call that. Absolutely he is. But I disagree with that call. It's not often I disagree with Chris Wilder, but I certainly do when it comes to this. I'm not convinced he will drop Robinson, says Helen. Must be something deeper going on there if after what he said in the presser and he still plays him back pocket, possibly. Maybe. Big Tone says, if and it's a big weekend, if Watford win and it puts back in our hands, do you think we could do it? If Watford win and we win on Friday, yes, we can still do it. But I'm not. That's Tone. That's asking an awful lot. Kaz Dog says with Suter, loss ratio is 12.5%. With Robbo, it's 47%. Both have played around the same games. Thank you for that incredible stat. I can't verify it, but I love it, so I'm sticking with it. Friday, Tony, don't miss it, says Ian, after he said if they win on Saturday. Yeah, good point. I've missed that as well, to be fair. Ray says, just know he's going to play him. If he drops more clangers, the fans won't be happy. In fact, it could turn out toxic. Hope not. Play Holding. David Smith says, Leeds fan here, just support your team and get behind them, as that's what true fans do. How are we not doing that, pal? How are we not doing that? We are talking about the best possible team to go out there and get the result that we need. That is supporting your team. That is, I don't know whether that was meant as criticism or what, but I'm hoping Chris is going to have seen the light and drops Robbo. Please, please, says Dave Morwood. Chris, we ain't winning games now, are we? So drop him. We can see why. We can see it. Why can't you? I'm sure he can. It's just a big call, isn't it? Tom says, to be honest, I'm still in the mindset of we haven't played particularly well all season, bar a few games, and the results have swung against it, and not the results have swung against us rather than for us. Just hope it can change back soon. Rick says, just because you don't play the exact same team 2 games in a row in a 3-game week. I see what you mean in terms of after the fact, Rick. After the fact. Do you mean the Coventry game to the Oxford game? Mate, Watford beat Burnley on Friday. That's from a Leeds fan, says Nath. How are people so confident that this result comes in? I think it's disrespectful to Burnley, for one, which I've been accused of being previously. Burnley have lost 2 games all season, unbeaten in 29. Unbeaten in 29, conceded 13 goals in 42 games. Madness. Madness. Walter says, oh, yes, I'll be in the Porterbrook. A few real ales before the game. We start again, fingers crossed. A bit of lady luck goes our way over the bank holiday. Well, if people are there pre-game, I will be in Selena Bar, one of our sponsors. Thank you to Selena for your continued support of the Ramble. It's not on here because it's off the presser and not the warm-up. But Selena, maybe even Panenka, and then definitely over to Triple Point pre-match on Friday. So we'll see everybody there that normally comes, and you're more than welcome if you don't normally come. Definitely another twist to come. It's the bloody Champo, says Nath. I hope you're right, mate. Trust your manager. He ain't done bad so far, and he will be hurting just as much. I do trust the manager, David. I do, mate. I think some supporters' trust has wavered. I think it's brought out some of those fans that never really wanted to give him a second chance anyway. Over the trajectory of the season, he's done a really, really good job. It's just now that we're so close, it's so difficult to be positive. I'd play One and Campbell up front. Holding and Gilchrist would be brought in, says Walter. One, not many people have shouted for One, but big man, little man, like, well, Campbell's hardly little, is he? But he would be compared to, everybody's little compared to Ryan One, but interesting. Ian says, I'm not a robot. I've got flaws. The nearest thing he's ever going to come to admitting he got it wrong. Yes, I agree. I was smiling at that. I wondered if he'd go any further, but then remembered who it was. Don Givens, that's a nightmare from the past. I remember the riot after, says Walt. Ab says, the usual Wilder tripe, making excuses about his mistakes and bigging up stuff he's done. I can see why Borough fans turned, which always surprises me. Always surprised me. I see why now. Danny says, got a problem with Wilder sticking with the wrong players, Robbo, Brewster, etc., and we have better options. Also, set pieces really need looking at. Bet we're the worst in the champ for them. Up the blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, mate. Ab says, Holding should have started every game since he walked into the club. He is so far better than the peg leg Robbo. It's not even close. And he's one of the main reasons Wilder is yesterday's manager. Strong from Ab. Strong. Andrew says, does Burrows need dropping? He's been very poor the last 3 games. Who's not been poor the last 3 games, Andrew? I honestly think Burrows is the best option we've got at left back. I don't think he's been poor particularly, but he's not been good, but no one has. So I think we stick with Harrison Burrows will be my shout. You could go with Sam McCallum, but I think he's left wanting as a defender a little bit. He's good going forward, but I think he's not quite the complete fullback for me. Passion of performance that may have worked for Warnock in the early 2000s. It doesn't work now, says Ab. Oh, he's all over Chrissy Wilder this morning. The Wilder 5 at the back team has so many tactical nuances overlapping. Number 10, throw in setups. This has nothing. It's give it to Gus and cross your fingers. Oh. Who are we going to bring in for Burrows, says Walt. Good question. Jukey says, Jimbo, I'm praying you guys come up just so it helps you and your YouTube channel. Thank you, mate. You're a great guy and hopefully the Blades make it. You deserve it. Thank you. That's a lovely comment. Thank you, mate. I think there'll be other reasons that Unitedites want United in the Prem other than the Blades Ramble, but I appreciate that. It's a lovely thing to say. Thank you. Ricky says, something that has irritated me with Wilder when he was transitioning into this system, he said it would be a full-time system and it's able to rotate on game. We can swap to a back 5 if we need, but even Leeds away, but other than Leeds away, I think you mean he's shied away from it. We're going to be doing a worst case scenario vid after this, as I've talked about already. We're live at 12 o'clock talking about if United stay down and we've got no brass, which you know we don't know, do we, with these new owners? Then this is the situation we're going to be in. Have a little look at that video because I'm changing system. Sean says 100% we do sit back and can't lie about that. And can't lie like that. We do sit back, don't we, Sean? That's what I disagree with as well. Lee says Robinson needs to be dropped, and I think he will be. His poor form has had a knock on to the recent performances by Burrows and Anel, who have both dipped alarmingly. They do not trust him. I hope you're right, Lee. I hope you're right, mate. Lee, normally the voice of reason, one of our Ramble on the Road. In fact, now that there's no content planned for tomorrow because it was going to be hot off the presser, we will put out Lee's 2 back-to-back 2-parter Ramble on the Road Europe edition. So keep your eyes peeled on Behind the Ramble for those. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Thank you for doing those, Lee. Mark, what we calling him? Mark Meldrew says, we all need to be better collectively. Not all on one man. 100% Wilder will pick him on Friday. Oh, Rama says Jack Robinson must have dirt on Wilder. I know. That's a polite way of saying it, isn't it? Up all the rambles, says Sean. Thank you, pal. Not just defence, says Steve. 1 goal scored in 3. Not good enough possession doesn't win games, says Steve. I agree with that. I agree. And he did say, to be fair, we've not been good in both boxes. It's all right controlling the possession. So does Swansea. And that Swansea are doing okay at the minute. That's not a dig at Swansea, but possession teams, it doesn't equal. Look at Nottingham Forest in the Premier League this year. They've had the least possession in the majority of games, yet they're doing really well. Dino says, well, at least he sounds up for it. And if he does, he always sounds up for it, though, I think, Dino. If he does, the players should be 3-0 Blades Friday. I think they'll come out of the traps flying, up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. I hope you're right, pal. I really hope you're right. Ab says, Vinny's looked poor since he was out for a while. Clearly not fit, and don't play him if he's 80%. Drop Robbo and bring in Baptiste. Sorry, not Baptiste. I meant Holding. Don't do that to me, Robbie. Clicks Rage says, hope you get there, Jim. Never give up. Things can change very quickly up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. Bladesman from the lane says, Gilchrist for Clark. Yes. Restore the balance on the right. Holding for Robbo is a must. Yes. Faith will drop if this isn't the case, and fans will start downhearted. Ab says, is this leader legend Jack Robinson, who scraps with fans, loses his head every game, and has cost us record amount of fines? I am convinced that the hardest decisions are the blowback you get from dropping a player. I think Wilder is shirking dropping Jackie Longthrow because it will kick off big style. With all the negativity, I still think we have a chance. Beat Burnley. They need to win 2 out of 3 in 3 tough games. Long shot, but not all gone. I think Leeds versus... Think like Leeds versus Wigan. Yes, nice. Everyone's unbeaten until they lose, Ramblers. Everybody's going to play until they get punched in the face. That's right. Oh, Ab. I don't, apart from the Wilder stuff, obviously, I don't disagree with your comments. I think your lot of the hardest game this weekend with Watford and Oxford now nothing to play for. Can Watford not still scrape in to the playoffs? I don't know. And Oxford are nowhere near clear at relegation. Says so. I don't completely agree with that, Hyatt. Gav says, imagine being unbeaten in 29 and not being top of the league. I know, crazy, innit? Crazy. Wilder's comments about going for a Chinese takes me back to Friday nights in the 80s. There are other options now, Chris. Great Turkish on London Road, for example. Burnley have to lose sometime, and Leeds have only lost 4, says Steve. Simon says dropping Robinson could be an Ilan Melier moment. It could, but will it come too late? Maybe. King says all 3 teams have hard games. Let's see who turns up. No one can look past the next game. Cardiff will smell blood, and Watford and Oxford home advantage. I feel twists and turns on Friday. Well, there has to be, don't there? And I hope there are, because even if we're on the wrong end of the twist, we need something to change, don't we? You know, either put us out of his misery and put us to the sword, or let's have a Watford win or something that we're not expecting. Chris says, I can't see the supporters being loud Friday night. A lot of nerves and a bit edgy. Only a couple of early goals will improve the atmosphere. Maybe. I can see it being pretty loud, to be honest. I think we have regressed back to being underdogs, haven't we? So maybe that works. I don't know, mate. We'll have to wait and see. Brewster Campbell up front, holding in for Robinson. Up the blade, says Al. Left field prediction, says Ian. He drops Robbo and brings Rian back in as captain. Don't say that. Keep Robbo in and make it easier for Leeds, says Simon. There you go. Lee says, I would have no issues at all if Wilder picks the team that Dave Leary picked on the nose picks. I like that team a lot, along with the system. I don't know if I've still got that. Let me see if I can still get that team up for everybody to see before we go. Half the presser, it was on the warm-up. So this is Dave the Nose's team. Now you can see Selena and Triple Point getting a shout-out as well. Dave the Nose picked this team. Cooper in goal, Sariki at right back, Burrows at left back, Anellan holding in the middle, Vinny Souza sitting a little bit with Peck and Hamer either side of him in centre midfield, Callum O'Hare in the 10, and Tyrese Campbell and Tom Cannon up top as a pair. Like it. I like it a lot. I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us this morning. We will be back, as we've said, with, I don't know where it's gone now, but we will be back with our 12 o'clock show today. 12 o'clock. It's going to be the day after Tuesday. Oh, I tell you why. It's because I've jumped straight onto it. It was hot off the presser, and then it's advertised here. Look, there you go. Preparing for the worst. Join us as we put together a team for the championship next season on a shoestring budget, essentially, because we don't know what we're going to have to spend. This is worst case scenario. And the idea behind the video at 12 o'clock is to get our heads around that even if the worst does happen to Sheffield United, we are still going to have a really good squad going into next season, because I'm positive that even in the worst case, we can build a squad around the foundation that we've already got. So join us there at 12 o'clock. Thank you to everybody for joining me today. Really appreciate it. And I will catch up with you soon. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blade!